feel is more conventional out of the three?
I feel like plot 2 is the most conventional, as it's sort of about gangsters and violence and sort of like the typical crime film.
What plot do you feel is more conventional out of the three?
I think that plot 3 is most conventional because obviously you mentioned that it has a female as being the vulnerable female, which if you look in sort of films like that, it's most conventional because that's usually seen, so like the women are sort of portrayed to be the vulnerable ones. And also you mentioned that you had a male antagonist, which is sort of conventional in a way that a male's always going to be stronger than a female, conventionally in films. So it applies, you see that in most films because it's conventional. And also the vulnerability that the female has, sort of that sort of fits the conventions nicely as well.
And would you prefer a plot that is conventional or one that tests the conventions of the crime genre?
I think I prefer one that tests the conventions because it would be sort of something different and you'd sort of get to see other aspects of the crime genre and other things that could possibly be very effective.
And would you prefer a plot that is more conventional or one that tests the conventions?
Well, I think that in the industry there are a lot of films that are going to focus around being quite conventional because it works in a sense, so that they're always going to have the certainty of it being a successful film. So maybe challenging the conventions it will be sort of more unique in a niche sector in a way, so I think it will be quite, as I said, unique, so I think that's also good to consider non-conventional ideas as well.
What plot did you prefer the most?
I prefer plot 1 the most, as I feel like it's sort of tests the conventions quite a lot and it's really really good in the way that it has a female antagonist and yeah, it's very good.
And out of the 3 plots that you've seen, what one did you prefer?
I preferred plot number 1 because I feel that challenging the conventions and sort of including different style characters than usually you would expect to see, it sort of just gives it a bit, it just is a bit different and just a bit more interesting compared to sort of the more conventional ideas.
Chosen meets the conventions of the genre?
I feel like it doesn't meet the conventions as it's sort of got a female antagonist and a lot of male victims, and it's also got sort of a playing card feature, so it's like a lot different to your typical crime.
And do you feel that the plot that you've chosen meets the conventions of the crime genre?
Not down to a T, but in ways certain factors do. I feel like if you literally follow the conventions as a guideline, it can sort of become sort of like most films that are sort of mass produced in a way, so they sort of always sort of fit the storyline. So I think becoming sort of quite unique in a way sort of can be better for the film.
And what is your favourite aspect about that plot?
I like the aspect about the female antagonist, as like you don't really see that in a lot of crime films, and with the male victims as well, and the playing card feature.
What is your favourite aspect of the plot that you've chosen?
Well, I like the fact that you've sort of switched the characters around, so instead of there being sort of the female victim that you'd usually expect to see, you've included a male victim. So there's a female antagonist, which is sort of very different and quite a bit more interesting.